little script. Oh, let me, there it goes. Okay, so we are going live. Welcome.
Hi, Jane.
Welcome in, everybody. How are you, Alexis?
I'm good. I'm really
Great. Good. I'm so glad to see you. So this
good.
starts a little bit before we actually go live. So I'm keeping an eye on my phone just to make sure that it shows up and we're going live. But welcome in, everybody. So this is really for a coach's power session. So I'm just going to read my little intro here. You know that feeling when you're circling a decision, hoping clarity will magically show up? Most of the time, it's not clarity that we need. It's courage to choose. I'm really excited to have Alexis Halkovic with me today. I hope I pronounced that right. Did I do okay? Okay, good.
Great.
Alexis is a people and systems coach with a sharp mind and a ton of heart. And she's also one of our clients, full disclosure. We've had the chance to work together as she's been building out her coaching practice in a way that feels aligned, not just strategic. Today, we're just having a real conversation about what it's looked like for her to move through any uncertainty, make some decisions, and build some momentum. So welcome in. Welcome in. So glad to have you. And we are live. I can see it on my phone. So great.
Be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. So I know, we're coming into this. Alexis has, we don't really have a script. I've got some questions that we can kind of dabble into, but this is really to be a very fluid conversation, not to be scripted, and really just to talk about a topic. So our topic today is decide to decide, and making a move that can possibly change everything in your business, in your life. So I'll throw out a question to you, Alexis, and let's see where we can go from here. I know for myself, I've made some big decisions in transitioning my business. Many of you might know I was a virtual assistant for many years, and I made a successful business from that. And so making a decision to transition out of that space and move into the coaches space was a big decision for me, and a gratifying one. And over the long term, I could say it's been the best decision I made. So with that, you've moved out of like academia, right? You're a psychologist. You've been, a leader. So what is sparking your shift into the coaching space?
Yeah, I mean, this was, first of all, I love this decide to decide emphasis, because it can be very, it can take people a really long time to decide to decide. And it's that focus on recognizing that if I don't do this now, I'm going to regret it later, because I'm really not fulfilled in this time, in this space, and I know I have a lot more to give. And that's how I felt when every time I applied for an academic position, my heart would sink when I read the job description. I'd be like, okay, there's like one sentence in here that resonates, that I feel like I could bring, parts of myself to this. But there are other parts that certainly felt like drudgery, even as I was reading those descriptions. And I applied for a lot of academic positions. And every time I did, I felt the same way. I felt like, oh, I really can try to make this work. And then, of course, when you put yourself out there, even though it's not the right thing, and it's not the right thing, for me, I should say, I knew it was not the right thing, that it's still painful to be rejected. And you're more likely to be rejected when it's not the right thing. Because if it's evident to you that I don't really fit in this isn't really connecting with me, this would serve a small portion of who I am.
Yeah.
Then the other side of it, the people who are making those decisions on the other side can see that, and so there's a lot of research that shows that applying for jobs that are not a good fit and getting rejected over and over is really psychologically damaging. It can be depressing. Clinically, it can lead to clinical depression. So it's like one of those things where you think you're doing the right thing because there's all these shoulds about, I should be applying for X number of jobs, when really, if you haven't done the work to, as you say, decide, you're probably barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you can feel it. Like you just feel icky, like, ugh, this is not what I want to do, but I really need a job, and I need to pay my bills. Everybody's been there, right? Or maybe not. Some people probably have
I
not.
think many of us have been there. I think we can relate to that, and I love what you were saying too. It can be very damaging psychologically. It could be so demoralizing. And especially when you're sitting where you were explaining, it's like, I don't even really want this thing, but I've got to apply. And then you're feeling kind of icky about the whole
Mhm,
cycle of it.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and for academic posts, you also have to enlist other people to write these letters of recommendation for you. And I would always feel like, oh, I shouldn't be asking them to do this. And so there was just there was a lot of signs that it was not the right thing.
yeah. Yeah, so risky would be, I guess, an understatement in like, okay, I think I'm going to put myself out there as a coach. What sparked that for you? What was that kind of decision, that decide I'm going to go in that direction? And feel free to speak to anything. I know a little bit about your journey and like why
Mhm.
you're doing what you're doing. So maybe talk a little bit about that if you're comfortable with
Yeah,
it.
I knew I wanted to do something different. I did not know what it was. I hadn't really been in the job market for a while because it takes some years to do a PhD, and I was pretty focused on that one direction. And it is disheartening when you get to the end of that journey and you're like, actually, this doesn't lead me to a career I want. It's not to devalue the process of doing the
Sure.
PhD. I don't regret that. But
Yeah.
then it's just like, oh, I just put in so many years. I haven't been thinking about other avenues that I could possibly get into.
Yeah.
And I did do a workshop. I don't remember how I found it. That was called Prepare to Launch You. I actually thought it was wonderful. It was really helping women who'd been out of the workforce for a period of time figure out what their next move was going to be. And that was helpful because it took me through and forced me to do a lot of those things like networking and reaching out to people and saying, hey, I don't really know what I want to do right now. But I'm really curious about this thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And that was so helpful because most people would be responsive. Not everybody, maybe like 50%, but that's a pretty good rate of, response when you're just basically doing informational interviews or saying, hey, what is it like to, design user interfaces or to do research on user experiences or to be working with big data. These were all things that I actually was looking into. And all of those, I figured out that wasn't for me, and that it was always working with people and always seeing people develop and achieve their goals, high capacity individuals, in particular, like the time that I spent working in GS India, Goldman Sachs in Bangalore, now Bengaluru. And helping my team, the members of my team, reach their career goals, that was the most satisfying for me by far. And so it took me a while to connect that to coaching and to say, okay, this is the thing I'm going to do, and decide I'm going to be a coach.
Yeah. And one of the things I really cherish about you is you're so values driven in not just in your personal, but in how you're translating your coaching and who you're helping and what you're helping with.
Mhm.
And was that risky for you in, kind of jumping into that space? And I would love for you to share a little bit about that because it lights me up to know what you're up to in the world. Like it's so much bigger than just being a coach or just being a PhD. Like you have bigger fish to fry in the world. And I feel like that's just what's propelling you forward. So
Yeah, well, there are people who will tell you that coaches should not be activists.
mm,
And I've always been an activist, and I've always been deeply invested in my own personal development, specifically around areas that would be big blind spots. And that includes understanding, racism and how that affects people, and not just from an academic perspective, but really, what is that experience? How does that affect people and in the world and also in the workplace? And so I've been drawn to idealistic leaders or people who are really values driven in um, in their work. And when I can help values driven founders or leaders get to their next thing, whether they know what that, usually they don't know what that next thing is, sometimes they know what that next thing is going to be, then it is incredibly fulfilling to me because I just can, it's like I'm a part of this movement, whether it's somebody who's doing work for, sustainability work, developing companies that are focused on sustainability, or whether it's people who are working in, with youth, um, and inclusion in the arts, those things all, I really feel like those are the unsung heroes. And I think because I had a background in financial services, everyone was giving me the advice, like, go for people in financial services. And I'm like, well, I left financial services for a reason.
Mhm.
And so to go through the time and the effort and the pain of building a business, because
Mhm.
it's not all roses, right? And you can attest to that.
I can.
Um, you have so many of your stories I can totally relate to, but it's a lot of work. And so if that's not going to be something fulfilling, then for me, it's not worth it. But I'm not like everybody. A lot of people are really motivated by huge salaries. And I
Yeah.
remember there was an organization in Denver that, like, they reached out to me and they were like, "Do you want to work with us?" kind of thing. But it was all about, $1 million coaches and this and that. And I was like, what about my profile said to you, I want to help people become millionaires? And there's nothing, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Sure.
We live in a capitalist society. People want to, do that. It's just not what motivates me.
Yeah. Yeah. What I hear from what you're sharing, it's like, and this is how I feel about my own business, and you've probably heard me say this, is that when your business is an extension of who you are naturally, and you're able to elevate your gifts, and bring it into the world, like what I'm getting from what you've shared here, and also from just knowing you as I have, you're elevating the culture, both in the workplace and then hopefully into the world. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. So I applaud you. I think what you're up to is so valuable, so wonderful, and so needed. So I just want to give you applause for what you're up to. You have a
I,
big
I
mission.
I really appreciate that. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jamie.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
it's definitely a labor of love,
Hmm.
and that makes it easier. If as you know, I have two ventures. I'm doing coaching, and I'm also co-CEO of Culture Camp AI, which is an organizational culture assessment app with an AI that is geared towards coaches and making coaches the hero. It's like human-centered AI, coach-centered tech.
Good.
And all of those things are important to me because it's important that we keep things human-centered and that we don't forget how much insight and value there is from having a true connection with another human being,
Yeah.
and that it's not just accountability. It's far more than that. um, and this is why I believe in coaching. Coaching is just like, it allows you to see yourself in a completely different way, which opens up the possibility to do things that you likely did not imagine. And that's true for me as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, my own experience with coaching has allowed me to see myself in very different ways. Uh,
Mm.
and I continue to learn from that. So I think it is super beneficial. I think we another thing is also I value interdependence. This idea that human beings are islands and that we don't need anybody. I just don't believe that. Um, we're social animals. We need each other, and that doesn't make you weak. It makes you human.
It makes you a resource in the world, a resource for others and for yourself and just the world in general. So yeah, I agree. I love all that. And it's we're solopreneurs, right? So it's challenging, but like we have beautiful things like we have StreamYard, we have Zoom, we have LinkedIn, we have ways to connect with people, and I think that's what we're up to is really making those connections, those personal touches, if you will. So decision. So let me get back to like deciding to decide. So deciding for you to step into this was a decision that you feel, and I'm just going to read the title of our thing, the one move that changes everything. Do you feel like that was a big decision for you, that you were able to, step in, maybe, take some workshops? I know you took our workshop and you've decided to work with us. So those like big decision moments, are you pleased with making those decisions, like taking that accountability, that step, that momentum, that forward momentum, if you will? Have you found just making a decision? Because I know for me, when I make a decision, just the feeling of making that, you just feel the sense of relief rather than just the inner workings of your mind holding you back. So speak to that a little bit if you don't mind.
There was a lot in there, so I'm not sure I'm going to get the exact question
that you talk about related to making a big decision, that instead of just kind of staying in the inquiry, but like really going, I'm gonna step out. I'm gonna do something that might be uncomfortable. So maybe talk about where in your life that was something, and it might be around your business, it might not be. I don't know, but any big decisions that you feel like, I'm glad I took that action.
I am glad. I'll tell you what. So my daughter is 5, and I had targeted like these certain types, very specific types of boutique consulting organizations. They're small and very focused on psychological assessments, organizations that value someone who has a PhD in psychology. And I was interviewing with some of those, and as I was interviewing, I was like, oh, if I get this position, I'm going to be working, 60 hours a week. It's going to be a stretch role. I'm going to have a lot of catch up to do, and it's going to be a lot. And and the reason that I wanted to shift what I want to do is so I could spend more time with my daughter, who at the time was, younger than she is now. And that was kind of an epiphany moment, that if I keep deciding to work for somebody else and work in their framework, I'm going to be stuck working their hours and meeting their expectations. Whereas if I decide to work for myself, and that was really the biggest decision, is to decide to work for myself. Because I don't think it occurred to me before that I could be a solopreneur. I was like, I can work for myself. I did a PhD, I wrote a dissertation. It was like, I can do this. And then, of course, as you go along, and that was a huge moment. And I was glad that I made that discovery, because otherwise I think I would be, working a lot of hours and not being true to certain values, which were the value of spending time with my daughter and having the flexibility to do that, but also to learn and develop and create something where I have the ability to utilize all of my, or a lot of my skills and abilities, and develop those interests. So that's kind of the first part. But then the other part is that you guys, you and Mark, talk about this whole DIY thing, and decide, everyone trying to wear every hat in an organization, and how, and it just wasn't working for me. Like I was like, I know I'm not good at marketing. It's
Yeah.
like one of the reasons I started a podcast was because I says I'm much more comfortable talking to other people and talking about how great they are than in trying to sell myself. And so I was like, oh, this is not what I want to do. It's not why I went into coaching. And of course, probably in retrospect, there's some naivete about that where, like, of course, you're going to have to market yourself if you're going to have your own business. But so that's when, folks, like you and Mark, and even earlier when I did the Prepare to Launch You, it's like I wouldn't have gotten that clarity if I didn't have the support. And it's like you have the support of the program, the structure, the things you need to do. You don't have to figure them all out from scratch and
Yeah.
be like, oh, how do I do this? Maybe I'll read another book, and how many books can I read? It's like when reading books is not the same as doing something.
Yeah.
It's reading books.
You get the concept, but you're like, okay, and how do I practically put that into play? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, I love reading books, but it's like that can be a problem, right? It's like
Yeah.
so then having that, and then also having a cohort of other people who are doing similar things, but they have their own slant on it, I think is really helpful because then it gives you a lot more clarity when you see other people engaging in those steps that I know I'm going to be taking in a short amount of time. I
Yeah.
mean, oh, that's where I'm going. That's what I'm going to be doing. And
Yeah.
she didn't make it look hard or terrifying.
I love that. I love that. And that's why we like to kind of like people always ask me, well, when is your next cohort? When do you like start your next group? And I'm like, it's rolling, and we love that because some people are in, a different step or a different phase of our program, but it's wonderful. And I love that feedback of where you get to see where somebody else is, or if you're like, right now we have some new people joining us, you'll meet them tomorrow in our call. And it's like now you kind of get to be that beacon for them, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, being a coach, like you were taught, the point that you're making, and I have to echo it, is that you chose to be a coach. You didn't sign up to become a marketing expert. That's not at all. I mean, yeah, you understood, which is great. Many people don't. You understood I need to market myself, but having the practical strategies to do that. So walking somebody else's path that's already been down that road is wise. So I give you credit for that also.
Yeah, I mean, it just takes such an enormous amount of pressure off.
Yeah.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and there's no good reason to do that, unless you're a glutton for punishment.
I love that. So true. So true.
But the other piece of it is at some point you do have to recognize that you can't be all things to all people. And it's like I'm not going to be the marketing guru, maybe in a few years. Or maybe if I'm marketing somebody else, but not for myself. Those are such different things.
Yeah.
It's just such a different thing.
Yeah, it's putting yourself out there and being vulnerable and all that. That's a whole nother layer to it all, right? I mean, I never used to be comfortable being on camera, and now I'm on camera every day. So yeah. So Alexis, I'm going to let you do a little pitch for yourself, and I'm going to grab your links also while we're talking. And so just give a little, I don't know, minute commercial, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever you're comfortable with, about how people can reach you and what it is that what you specialize in. And I'm going to put your links in while you're chatting into the post itself. And then I'll do a little pitch for myself at the end here.
Yeah, I mean, my little statement, my niche statement, is accurate. I help values-driven founders and leaders make major changes in their life with certainty and clarity and without regret. so that they can truly make the impact that they want to make in the world. And I do that through coaching. Coaching is, I think, an incredibly transformational process. Um, of course, I have a 90-day program. um, I utilize some metaphors, or as my friend Mary Reynolds Thompson would say, archetypes, that allow you to gain clarity into, what it means to let go of some of the things that are holding you back, and embrace who you are, the values that you want to live, and move into the unknown, even though you're afraid. Because I'm not going to say you won't feel anxious or nervous, but you will have support, and you will be given that space to discover what it is that is going to be fulfilling. And that's what brings me joy. So this is really, it is about the client. I would say, if you feel that you are experiencing an existential crisis, you don't know where to go next, you've had a great career so far, but you're looking for the next thing, and you're not sure what it is, or you're thinking about legacy, or you're a founder and you're ready to move out of that position into something else. Those are some of the types of folks that I've worked with, and it's been really beneficial and transformational.
Yeah. And what I just wrote down, I just wanted to say that this came to mind, is like, without compromising who you are. That is the underlying, I feel, of exactly what you're up to, and what you help people to connect back with, in case they've lost that connection with self. So without compromise to your values and who you are, your core, all of that.
This is what's good to have someone who knows you.
Yes.
Back.
Yeah. Well, it speaks so much to me since the first day I met you. I just like what you're up to. I just think it's so beautiful, and that's the joy of what we get to do, is to help people shine. And you have a sparkle, so I want to help you put that out in the world. And I also love, I put all your links in, and I'll make sure that they get into the email as well. But I love your podcast name. Tell us the name of your podcast.
Catching North Stars. So, Catching North Stars, because I love talking to people who have taken those things, those core values, the things that make them who they are, the things that make them tick, and turn them into their careers. And that can take so many different shapes. And I always find it inspiring to talk to these folks. So hopefully you will take a listen and you will feel the same way.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to do a very quick little promotion of our workshop. So it's scrolling across the bottom, but we do a live workshop. Mark and I, by the way, Mark is not with me this week because he's taken the week off, which is good for him. And so he'll be back next week. We'll both be here. But we do a workshop every month, and it's called the MAP workshop. And there's a few different acronyms for that: Monetize, Accelerate, Prosper, Massive Action Plan, whatever you're up to. If you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you're looking to grow your business, if you're not clear on your marketing strategy, you're not clear on, and maybe you're not even aware of this, but many coaches they're thinking of it something other than a business. So we help you to bring the business to the forefront. That's what this is you're building a business. We want to help you to do that. So if you're curious about that, spend 5 days with us. It's free. There's no charge. Come and join us, and you'll get a lot of value. Alexis did our MAP.
I highly recommend it, because it's like a bouillon cube version of the experience of working with Jamie and Mark, and you will know if it's a good fit for you, and you will be like, yes, I'm doing that. And which is what I did.
And a well decided decision.
And it's like no risk, really. You just do it, and you say, that was awesome, I need more, or that's not what I need, which is how
people.
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's like, that's just it.
Yeah,
You don't have to commit. You just like try it on.
try
You
it
just
on.
do it.
One of the things that you said to me a few weeks ago when I was talking to you about, the map workshop, you said the reason that you signed up right out of the workshop was because you didn't want to lose the momentum. You had gotten some momentum during that and you didn't want to lose that. And that really spoke to me. And I thought, that's brilliant. I love that. I want to share that feedback here. And what Mark and I say is, join the workshop and you'll know by the end of the 5 days if coaching is even the path you want to walk. Some people come and they go, oh, that's a business, that's building a business a lot. So we're very honest about it. Like you said earlier, it's a lot of work. It is.
Mhm.
It's a lot of work to build a business. And if you think just setting up a website and hoping people will flock to it is going to be your marketing solution, know that that's probably not going to happen.
Right. Anyone who tells you that, either they were super lucky, or they're lying.
Right. That's what I'd say. My parents always ask me, there must be, there's coaches out there that are killing it. How are they doing it? And I'm like, well, they probably have unlimited funds to run Facebook ads. I don't know, but it is not, if you're just kind of doing it on your own and you don't have that kind of budget, there are strategies. You just gotta know what they are. And it's not going to be to hit the masses, and that shouldn't be what you want anyway. Little tip there. So anyway, we've got to wrap here. I have an appointment, so I've got to get to that. But thank you so much, Alexis. And I really enjoyed the time together. Thank you for being a valued guest and a wonderful client as well. So, and anybody who's watching this as a recording, leave comments, participate in the sandbox with us, and we will get to you and respond. We always check our platforms. So thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
All right.